Here we go.
We're
Hello.
excited.
Hello,
Hey, Karen.
Tanya. And guest. We have a guest today.
We have three squares today. Do people see the squares? No, probably.
Yeah, they do. They will
Well, they
see
do if
them
you
on
watch the
YouTube.
video.
They
Okay,
will
this
see
is
them
how
on
I'm not
YouTube.
technical. Yay, we have a guest today.
Alana McGinn, welcome to our Living Left podcast.
Thanks for having me, ladies.
So excited.
We go way back.
We do go way back.
Yeah, so I'm going
Back.
to introduce you because people, well, Tanya should, but it'll be even weird. Everyone, you know that Tanya and I are business partners if you've been listening. We're business partners in Left Turn Strategy, and then we've got this Living Left fun podcast that we
Mhm.
do. But many of you may not know that Tanya has a sister, and that is Alanna. And Alanna is here to join us, and she also has a very interesting business she's going to talk to us about, Goodnight Sleep Site, and she specializes in sleep and stress. And since we've been talking about midlife for the last few weeks, sleep and stress are probably the number one and two problems that most midlife women have.
Midlife women have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I'm excited to have my sister on, and I was just telling the story, so I have to retell the story because we didn't press record in time, and I know that's very important. So yes, this is my sis, my baby sis. Just in case people are wondering. We're twins. We sound the same, so you might get confused as you're listening to this podcast. But I always say that all of my in your incestuous network, so Alana is like the famous family member. I mean, my kids used to always say, Auntie
No.
Alana's on TV all the time. And I will have people come up to me all the time and go, How do you know Alana McGinn? And I'm like, Because she's my sister. And they'll be like, Shut up. That's your sister? You're so lucky. And then all of the questions
You're so
ensue.
lucky. Did
They
you know?
are. They're like, yeah, she's so famous. Does she blah, blah, blah? And then all the questions start. So I'm excited about today because I know I answer it as best I can, but we always like on this podcast to have a little bit of, it is living left and how it is about midlife, but usually in midlife, sometimes you have an opportunity to turn left. And, you from a business standpoint have lived and continue to live many lives, right? And maybe you can give us some background on what you've been doing and what you are doing now and what the
yeah.
future looks like as a good introduction.
And
Yeah,
I've known,
thank
I'm
you.
not your sister, Alana, but I've known you since
Well,
the
I was gonna
beginning
say
of
we
this
go way
of this
back too.
entrepreneurial business. So I can
You
remember
guys met
years
first,
ago.
actually. Well, no,
Yeah,
actually not.
I
If we're
totally knew
not if
Alana.
we're sisters, you didn't.
No, but I met Anne Marie before you met Anne
I
Marie.
know, fair, fair, fair.
So
That's
actually,
true.
there's a technically,
Oh,
we
that's
lived
true.
on the
We're
same
gonna go way
street
back. Yeah.
about
Oh my gosh.
10 or 20 houses apart from each other. So our parents loosely knew each other back in Montreal. But
Isn't
I
that
don't really
crazy?
remember
So
knowing you guys.
crazy.
But we must have gone to the same Beacon Hill Public School. But
No,
didn't you
it's
go to
true.
Beacon Hill? Yeah, you
Yeah,
went. Yeah.
yeah,
So we all
yeah.
went. So we were in the same space-ish. But anyway, that doesn't count. Just because like Linda and June know each other doesn't mean
Yeah.
that we
That's
You
right.
know.
necessarily knew each other.
That's right. So yes, so I am Alana McGinn. My company is Goodnight Sleep Site and alanamcginn.com. I started in the sleep world over 15 years ago. Which is crazy to think that
Yeah.
it's that old right now. So I started I'm going to say over 18 years ago because I
For
really
sure.
started in the
Jeez.
sleep space when I
That's
had
not
my first daughter.
possible.
Yeah, it's right.
Sophie is when
I
I
know.
remember
I
it.
just
I
forget that
know.
those first businesses would be that old now.
I know.
That's all.
That's right.
That's
Yeah,
nuts. That's
I know.
nuts.
I know.
Okay.
So it was when I had my first daughter, and I realized that I was probably never going to sleep again, as many new parents realize when they have their first kids. You learn so much in, oh my God, what is it called? What are the classes you take before you have a
Prenatal.
prenatal? Thank you. Prenatal classes, but they don't really cover sleep, and it's not really until you have the baby and you're not sleeping
Yeah.
that you are, clamoring for all things sleep information. And in those days, over 18 years ago, my profession wasn't really around.
Mhm.
You read the sleep books and you Even, all the social media accounts and everything that everyone that's talking sleep wasn't really available to parents in that stage. It was, you're getting tips from friends and from your mom and your mother-in-law and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
I kind of learned myself how to sleep train my daughter. And then started helping friends and helping friends of friends. And it wasn't until I was pregnant with my twins, or brother and sister, where certifications started. I'm certified through the Family Sleep Institute, in my opinion, one of the most extensive certifications in our industry. But still, the industry was so new then, like
Yeah.
really new then. I think we knew one sleep trainer, Anne Marie. I think we can,
Yeah, I know who it is.
yeah, one sleep trainer in our circle at that time in the parenting world.
I think
Uh,
she actually helped me with Megan, actually.
yeah,
Yeah, I didn't know you then, so
Tracy.
that's
I'm
allowed.
like blanking on sleep doula, I
Sleep
think.
doula. Yeah,
So I got certified and started Goodnight Sleep Site. I remember hitting publish on my website. I built my website myself. I remember hitting publish on it when my twins, they were in their bouncy seats staring at me. They were like 10 months old. And built the business. And then, fast forward a few years later, grew my team of consultants. So now I have consultants throughout Canada and the US. Primarily, they're working with the families, so with the babies to toddlers to elementary school kids. And then it wasn't until about, I don't know, 6 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, where I really started to dive into the adult world. So, focusing on women and midlife. And that really has grown in the past, I would say, 2 years. In that 5 year span, let's insert a divorce, which kind of slowed production down on the business just because my life was slowly unraveling, which I'm sure we'll get into. And then now I have a focus on midlife sleep for women that are going through, I don't want to just say menopause because it's not just menopause
sure.
that we go through at this midlife stage. We go through many different transitions of life that increase our stress and therefore hit our sleep. And then recently have become a certified divorce specialist, focusing on the wellness side of women who are going through divorce and sleep and stress management and how that is important. So and that's at alanamcginn.com.
Right.
That's what I do.
I love that. And I love how, obviously we've been, I mean, you and I specifically as siblings also, cheer each other on in the background and go
Yeah.
through all the ebbs and flows. And then with Anne Marie, kind of having worked with both of us and knowing both of us, we've all kind of seen it go. But what I love about it is again how you've intentionally made your decisions, but you've also naturally kind of followed the flow, not only yourself as a woman and knowing what you want, which I think is so important,
Mhm.
but then seeing that opportunity and not being afraid to like, again, we talk about left turn, right? To say, okay, I know I've always been doing that. So a lot of people would want to stay in a lane. Right. And
Yeah.
that is what I know. And I know we've had a lot of discussions, but the courage to, like, as we always say, look left and go, you know what? There is something here that I
Yeah,
need to explore.
100%.
And you've added so much value as a result of that. And it's not surprising to me that it's taken off in the last 2 years as women of
Yeah.
our age and stage are just a lot more self-aware. There's a lot of more discussion out there. We need resources. We need people. We need
Yeah.
help.
Yeah.
And we have platforms to identify that we have problems.
Yeah.
Where like 20 years ago when you
No,
started
they
in
weren't
the sleep
around.
space, you
True.
really only had your literal network beside you
Yeah.
physically. Now you have networks around to say, you're not sleeping. Wait a second, you're feeling this too. Like we're actually recognizing there's problems and then also able to recognize that there are gaps in the solutions. And you've been able to step into those solutions, which is terrific.
Yeah, I think, it's for me for building my business. My business at the heart of it is coaching and educating, and I'm good at
Mm-hmm.
that. It's something that I really enjoy doing. And I've kind of grown my business in the stages of my life, right? When I
Yeah.
started the business, it was sleep training because that's this age and stage I was in. And then got on to teenage sleep as my kids got older and now have graduated to the midlife space because that's the space I'm in. So, I mean, who knows 10 years from now what stage I'll get into. But I found as I was going through my divorce and my personal life was taking such a, I'm going to say positive pivot in air quotes because the journey was not easy, but it
Sure.
was to land into a more
Yeah,
positive
it's going in the right direction.
space. Yeah. I once I got onto that side, I realized that my professional life also needed to take a pivot.
Hmm.
the heart of my business is Goodnight Sleep Site and my team and what we do on that end. But for me, I needed to do more,
Hmm.
still keeping with the heart of what I do, and that's coaching and educating. So it was it seemed like a gradual shift, but one that was very, I can't think of any words today. One that was very,
Also a thing of midlife.
I was gonna say,
yeah, with a lot of purpose. So
yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what have you found? I mean, and it's so funny because I've always had a list of questions but when we get into environments, we never have a chance to really talk about business. But I did want to ask, and I'm genuinely curious, what has been the most surprising thing for you as you've kind of stepped into these new spaces? I think again, honing in on you are amazing from a coaching educator standpoint. You love putting those programs together. You love teaching those programs or with groups of people. But what have you found is the most interesting, especially with us midlife women,
Mhm.
that continues to surprise you?
I think my biggest left turn or aha
Hmm.
moment was when I was starting the business, I worked all the time. I mean, my
Mm.
kids grew up watching me with a computer on my lap.
Hmm.
Some of that was because, I wanted to have the empire. I wanted to have the business. I wanted to take over the sleep training world. Some of it was probably also a huge distraction for the shitty marriage I was in,
Sure.
let's be honest.
100%.
But I think a big, and it makes sense. Listen, as you're older or as you're younger, you have the energy, the hustle is there. I found as I got older, especially in this new age and stage that I'm in my life now, in the past few years, I don't need the empire. I don't want that anymore. I want to continue to educate and teach because that's what I love to do. And I love the creation of programs and the building of them. Like I love the business side of it too.
Hmm.
I'm fortunate where I have a strong passion for the business side, but I also love what I'm creating through the business side and what I'm teaching. I'm fortunate in that way, but I don't want to work on weekends anymore. I don't want to work at
Hmm.
night anymore. I have set clear boundaries on that I never used to do. I mean, again, I'm in a happier stage in my life for sure. My kids are older now and need a little bit less of me, which actually doesn't make sense because I probably should have given them more when they were younger than I am now. But
They really
that
don't
has
need
been a
anything.
huge, yeah, right. They're fine. Um, that has been a huge shift for me is
Sure.
as I'm getting older, like I don't need the empire. I just want a business I love, a business obviously that is growing and I'm able to afford to have an amazing team behind me and I'm able to help people and women how I am. My bills are paid. I got some, I can tuck away some money for later, but
Hmm.
that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
your purpose is bigger. Your purpose
Yes.
is not actually about building a financial empire, but maybe leaving a legacy of the education
Yeah.
and also having a legacy for yourself,
Yeah.
like in time to come into this midlife you.
Yeah,
That's in a positive way.
for sure.
I have
Yeah.
a
And
question for you about your own sleep, like around sleep, because Tanya and I debate this because we have very different approaches to
shocking.
mornings and nights.
Yeah.
And as I was staying up late last night reading, I was like, oh, I'm going to get in trouble for this tomorrow. But I want to talk about it because I think it's an interesting thing. Like, I think sleep, I don't think I realized until I was on I love the Gina Levy program, and I know you're a partner with
Yep.
Gina Levy.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, it's a weight loss program, but it's about so much more than weight loss. And that was my big
Amazing community.
aha of realizing it's not just what we're eating, but it's when and how and the hormones and the sleep. And
Yeah.
it's like it's more than calories in, calories out. It's like the entire component of being a healthy person. And a healthy person loses weight. You don't lose weight to get healthy. You have to be
Right.
healthy first and then you lose. And sleep is like in my head when I don't go to bed, which I still am going to bed earlier than I used to, Alana. But I keep telling myself, it's like you're saying you don't have dessert, so you're okay with saying no and putting boundaries around the food. But it's so hard for me to get into bed. It is so hard for me to get into bed. So I tell myself it's just like not eating that thing. You have to get in, it's the same equivalent. Like if I could
Yeah.
have more rest, then I'm going to have a healthier body and that will help. But I would love to hear about your own sleep because mine is Once I get in and I sleep okay. I'm not up 1,000 times. But I
Right.
just don't like to go to bed. I'm like a toddler that does not like to be told to go to bed. And
Right.
but then on the flip side, I still have to get up, which is annoying. So,
And you are more productive at night. That was the
oh,
big thing, is that
I'm very
so
effective
that's
at
our
night.
question, Alana.
You're a wolf. I just did a segment on
Oh,
that.
yes, I
You're a
saw
wolf.
that.
Yeah. So your genetic makeup typically, and maybe it runs in your family, maybe it doesn't, is to go to bed later and or to wake up later, sorry. And your most productive time is in the afternoon and into the evening hours. That's in your DNA. You can change it. You can shift it to earlier. A wolf can become oh my God, I'm going to blank on which one it is. A wolf can become a lion, which is an earlier waker. It's hard for a lion to become a wolf, but you can change it if you want.
So, what are the segments? What do you
Oh,
mean?
yeah, I remember
So
I saw
lion
this.
is so lion would be like the lark, right? Lion is the early to go to bed, early to wake up. And
That's
they're
me.
Okay.
most productive in the morning, right? From like
Okay.
morning till about noon. Then you could be a bear. Bear is the most common. So bear is the person who really sets their sleep patterns to our external environment. So as the sun rises,
Okay.
they wake up. As the sun sets, they go to bed. They don't have a huge amount of difficulty sleeping. They're also more productive in the morning till about noon. Wolf is the one who sleeps in later. So you're sleeping probably an hour later than the sun naturally rises. And you're most productive in the afternoon. So when everyone else is kind of winding down in the evening, you're ready to go. I used to be a wolf. Like when I built I always say the irony is never lost on me that I built a sleep business on very little sleep because
Yes.
I also had small kids, right? So I had to work
Yeah.
when they napped. I stayed at home with them
Yeah.
too. It's full time with them home. So I worked when they napped. I worked when they went to bed. So I would stay up till all hours of night
Yeah.
building the business, right? And I was okay with that when I was younger. And then a dolphin is the one who struggles with sleep, who wakes up easily, has trouble falling asleep. They're the dolphin. They're always kind of moving and going, right? Um, for what was your question? My sleep? What my sleep is
Yeah.
like?
Yeah.
I've always been a really good sleeper, to be honest. I mean, I'm a woman. I go through stages and months where maybe I'm not sleeping more. My sleep is very affected by my stress levels, which is kind of why I got into what I got into.
Yeah.
I found the worst that I ever slept, obviously, was going through my divorce because it was one of the most stressed. I also lived with my ex for the year and a half that I was going through the divorce, so that did not help the situation. Um, but for the most part, I'm a pretty good sleeper. My sleep score is always like between 98 and 85, which I'm happy with. Um,
What is that? What do you mean? Your sleep score is
so
what?
my on
If
my
you're
Apple
watching.
Watch,
Oh,
my sleep
okay.
score is always around there. Um, but yeah, I go to bed much earlier now. I also am with an amazing guy, and
Yes,
he
he
is
is.
an early to bed person. So he's slowly kind of I've adopted more. And another reason why I don't want to work at nights and work, on the weekends. But we generally go upstairs by like 9:30, 10. And then normally
Mhm.
it's lights out by like 10:30 or so
Mhm.
if we're reading a bit or something like that. My kids now know me to go to bed early. Like if they're at their dad's, they know not to call me past 9 because they're like, Mom's probably
Mhm.
sleeping. So I have shifted my bedtimes.
So, so here's the question. So I think that's awesome. And I think we can find more in the lion, bear, wolf, dolphin. You had a segment that went out
Mhm.
on it because I
Yeah,
remember
it's
that too. Because
on my Instagram.
on the Instagram, because I think that's super interesting. So the discussion we had is, well, that makes sense. You could naturally change, and that's what Anne-Marie and I were talking about is, Anne-Marie is like, I'm working really hard to maybe change that. But then the thing was like, but do we have to? Like, isn't this whole idea of us embracing this idea of in midlife, I can live the way I want to live, the empowerment around that? If you were a wolf and you fully embrace the wolf, and because of your work and your kids are
Yeah.
now don't need you, can you be a healthy midlife woman as a wolf indefinitely?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
See, Emery?
absolutely. Yeah. Like if that's your natural sleep patterns, don't fight it. It's again, if a wolf wants to start working out in the morning, but it's super hard for you to get up early and work out in the morning, work out in the evening or the afternoon if that's what your
Yeah.
body is telling you what it needs. the route that I don't want people to take is we have when we look at our pillars, we're looking at sleep, we're looking at nutrition, we're looking at moving our body, we're looking at connection. All of these are core, in my opinion, core pillars of health. So, do we need to change one time we go to bed at? No, but we can't not just accept the fact. Well, there's a twofold for this. We can't just accept the fact, like we have to put the same value in our sleep health as we do our other pillars
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
sleep is, first of all, it's very finicky and it's also the baseline, in my opinion, of the other foundation. So, like you said with Gina Libby, right? With the program that we're both involved in, if we're not sleeping well, we're not metabolizing our food as well. We're not digesting our food as well. We crave more carbs, more sugars. We don't have the energy to move our bodies. We're not fun to be around. So connection is tanked, you know?
Yeah.
Sleep is important, but I also don't want people to super hyper focus on their sleep. Like they shouldn't super hyper focus on any kind of wellness pillar, right?
Yeah.
Um, but don't just accept that you're a poor sleeper. Like there are things that
Sure.
you can do to change that.
Yeah. And I think it's
I
about
think
how
that's
if your sleep is good when you're in. So two things. So one, same thing. When I had young babies, I used to go super late.
Yeah.
I'd like start my work shift late at night, building that other business.
Mhm.
And I was the exact same. I stayed up very, very late, but then I would have no choice to sleep in. So it would be very short sleeps because you had
Right.
young
Yeah.
babies. Um, and so I look back at that and I probably at least a decade, I probably got between 4 to 5 hours a night. And I used to joke and say, I know it's not a long-term health plan. And and now I look back and I'm like, oh, young Anne Marie, it really was not a long-term health plan because
Yeah.
it absolutely impacted my weight. It absolutely impacted other components of my
Yeah.
health, but I was just functioning with very, very little sleep. And for sure, those 4 to 5 were broken up for sure too, because there would be nursing babies or people that needed you in the middle of the night and they woke up early. And now I fast forward to teenagers and I sleep, I'd say anywhere between 6 to 8 hours a night. Like I'm not waking up late. Like I'm up by 7:30 on a regular day. Sometimes eight if I am really into a book late at night or
Mhm.
something. But it's because I also don't have to. I only have one person at home who gets herself off to
Yeah.
school. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm not mandated to require to drive somebody and my office is right here in my house. So I don't have to commute and
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, but I'm not waking up at 6. Like that seems crazy to me. But I'm waking up at 7 naturally and going to bed
That's
around
fine. That's,
midnight.
I mean, you can completely continue to do that. You don't
Yeah.
have to make any changes to that. And I'll be honest, sometimes like when I'm working with a woman and we're seeing a consistent like 3 a.m. waking, which is one of the most common
oh
Yeah.
issues.
yes.
A lot
Sure.
of the time it's because we're going to bed too early. So, if you think on average
Oh,
a
really?
acceptable
Yeah.
bedtime
That
is
makes sense
between
to me.
9 and 10 p.m. and you're falling asleep at that time, well, by 3 or 4, that's essentially, I'm not going to do the
Yeah.
quick math, but that's essentially 6, 7 a.m.
5 hours, five,
sleep.
6 hours. Yeah. Like I would wake
You're-
up.
Yeah. So it's,
Because
you
I am always up and I literally I'm up for an
go to bed
hour
But
early.
that's
and
why I
then I
tease you
fall
about
back
going
asleep.
to
I
bed
am
so
in bed
early.
early. Well,
Yeah.
it's not that early. It's 10 o'clock. Well,
10
9,
o'clock
10.
is still early.
Yeah, I'm
Really early to
tired
go
though,
to
But
bed by
dude.
maybe
that
you
time.
need to push your bedtime out a bit.
Yes.
On the flip side, if you're waking, like, this is what we need to understand. Waking up in the middle of the night is okay.
Yeah, yeah, fair.
There's nothing wrong with
I don't
that.
stress
When
about
you
it.
can't fall back asleep, that's the
Yeah.
issue, right? So if
Yeah.
you're waking up at 3 and it's taking you, 30 minutes to fall back asleep, provided you fall back asleep and get a good stretch from 3:30 or 4 until
Yeah.
6 or 7, cool. Like you're okay,
Okay.
especially if you're going to bed at 10, right?
Yeah.
Um, but if you're waking up at 2 or 3 and you're tossing and you're turning and you have difficulty falling asleep at bedtime, you're waking up at that
Yeah.
time and you can't
Hmm.
fall asleep, that's when we might need to make some
Yeah.
changes.
I also take my
Okay.
naturopath recommended this in COVID because I felt like I was very stressed in
Yeah.
COVID, kind of like in that era of that. And they recommended taking magnesium at night. So I take that every single night. And I
Yeah.
do notice that if I'm traveling and I have forgotten it or I have run out or whatever, my sleep is absolutely impacted. So it helps me stay asleep
Yeah.
because I found before that if I woke up, then I was up for the night. Didn't even matter if I was asleep for half an hour. It was over, which also made it very difficult to anyone sleeping in the vicinity of me. because I'm very angry if somebody's snoring or they move or they get up to pee.
That's me.
So that's the magnesium has helped me
We've
be able to stay asleep,
Yeah.
which I
Perfect.
appreciate. Which also brings up, so in various circles, this is a topic that comes up a lot, is about, I hear like as a lot of my friends are now getting their own room. Because especially
Yeah.
now that you're having kids leave for school, there's an extra bedroom around. And when you said, you go up at the same time as your partner, I've been married for 25 years. We have never gone to bed at the same time ever because he's probably, what'd you call him? He's a bear or a lion, one of
Or a
those.
lion.
He
Yeah.
goes to bed early. He wakes up super early. So we've
Yeah.
never had a pattern when we went to bed at the same time. Um, but he will wake me up if he's up early or whatever. And so I think there's a theme though. I think there's a theme in midlife where you hear women, instead of just, occasionally moving into the room, like they're actually redoing the room and saying, well, that's mine because I
Yeah.
need the sleep. So do you hear about that? Is that something that's
Oh, for
coming up?
sure. That's a topic that I talk a lot about. It's called sleep divorce, which I don't love the term because it doesn't necessarily mean that you're unhappy in your marriage, or
That's
that's
a
the
fair
route
point.
you're going down. It's just
Yeah, it's
that,
not a nice term, actually.
no, it's not. It's just that you want to sleep well. So I'll be honest, more and more couples that you probably know in your personal life sleep in separate bedrooms and they just
Yeah,
say
100%.
it out loud because it is so
they're seen as a shame.
basic.
There's shame
Exactly.
surrounding it, which is
Exactly.
ridiculous.
They just want to have a good night of sleep, you know?
Yeah.
There was a national survey that came out in the States. This is going back a few years or so, but that showed that majority, I think it was over 64% of new homes were being built with two
Yeah.
primary bedrooms.
So logical.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the
Wouldn't
same
that be
thing.
amazing?
Well, it's what's
Yes.
also logical is
Mind
like,
you, I love sleeping with Nick, but in the old
Yes.
marriage, that would have been great.
but regardless if it's a healthy or unhealthy relationship, if you
Yeah.
look at your health and his health or her health, whatever the partnership is, you're
Mhm.
probably not eating the same things, you're not moving the same way. Like you have
No.
different goals in your health and you're treating that differently. So if someone needs more sleep in a different environment or it's even temperature,
Yeah.
like you need a better sleeping arrangement.
Sleep
That's a
apnea is a big one. Snoring is
Sure.
probably the biggest, right? It's so important that your sleep space is set up for your specific sleep needs and not yours and your partner's because you probably don't have the same. A mattress is a mattress. If you're sharing a mattress, you have to both agree on a mattress. But I've saved a lot of marriages just by saying you can use different blankets. You don't have the same
Yeah.
comforts. You don't need to use the same pillow. All of those things matter in terms of how well or not well you're sleeping. If your partner is a chronic snorer, and I'm talking like snoring, showing a lot of excessive daytime sleepiness, falling asleep in meetings, at red lights, all of those things, that's likely a sign of sleep apnea. And
Mm.
once you better their sleep, because sleep apnea undiagnosed can have long-term health risks,
yeah.
not only is the person who is now using a CPAP machine, most likely for treatment, they're sleeping better, they're healthier. The person sleeping beside them is also now getting proper restorative sleep, which is so important. So, yeah, like a lot can go on in a bedroom that can disrupt your sleep. That's why environment is so important. And if that means sleeping in different bedrooms, go for it.
Yeah. I think the shame is
Yeah.
going away from that. I think it's so important and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
smart.
Yeah.
It's
So
so
smart.
smart.
I
Yeah.
Like
know.
all that's interesting.
I think more and more people are open to it. I have a lot of those conversations with friends
Yeah.
as well. Like to your both of your points, like there's very few actually who are sleeping in the same room still,
And if
Yeah.
right?
if everyone's trying to have a long life and sleep is that critical of a
Mhm.
Yeah.
pillar,
Yeah.
you
You need
know?
to. But I think it's just back to just to close the loop on the morning versus night. I just think that's going to be a big aha for a lot of our listeners
Yeah.
because that was some of the feedback. Like people were like, when Anne Marie and I were talking, we didn't have these categories, which is amazing. But we were like, I'm a morning, she's an evening. And we were like, well, we have the privilege to be able to, you know, you know,
You don't have to
Flexible
go
in
lead
the
into, I
morning.
don't have to
Yeah.
get up. Like
Yeah.
we can do
And
that.
that's
We run
important
our
to
own
note
business and
too.
that's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
So, but I also think at midlife, when you're thinking about empowering yourself to make changes and take control of your situation.
Mhm.
Those are the things. I don't care if you're going into the office, you can now negotiate some of that stuff. Like if it doesn't work for you and you need an extra hour, then you take that extra hour,
Yeah.
and and I do believe the world where we got to isn't it amazing that still to this day, society and the world tries to force everyone into a schedule or a
How many
system
times have
that
you
doesn't
heard that the morning is the best time to do everything? So if you
yeah.
haven't got your workout in the morning, this is the time to get your workout in and you start it
The
off.
5 a.m. club.
So I
Yeah.
feel lazy because I feel shamed and lazy because that's not
You would
I
never be a
Yeah.
member of the
You.
5 a.m.
no,
club.
I've tried. I have tried and it's a failure and it's very hard. So I'm like,
Yeah.
there's got to be a way to do some of these things easier that still I get like what's more important? Like I don't know. So
But I mean,
I
that
agree.
brings me to kind of what I work on with my clients is there's so much when we talk about sleep, obviously we talk about bedtime routine and what we're doing at
Sure.
night to sleep better. But what I'm now putting more focus on, and I still talk about sleep hygiene and all of those amazing things because it does matter. So like I said, sleep is very finicky. And when something isn't, we all sleep. We all have the ability to sleep. Sleep shouldn't be so hard. But when there's something that's going on in our life that's off, it's going to affect our sleep. The one thing it
yeah,
affects for sure is our sleep.
Mhm.
So, if we're not eating well, if our stress levels are too high, all of those things. So instead of being like super worried about what time I go to bed at and should I do this in the morning? Should I do that at night? Focus on your daytime and your morning time. Like the morning routine and daytime is so important for your overall sleep health and what you're doing in that time.
So
Can
what does that mean specifically then?
So working on things like, how you wake up in the morning is going to affect your day. So if you're
Okay.
waking up, we all use our phones as alarm clocks. I'm sure everyone listening is nodding their head saying, yes, I use my phone as
I
my
know
alarm
I do
clock. But
that.
if you're and that's okay. That's
Hmm.
just the way of our world. Even though stores still sell alarm clocks, I will say. But if you're, turning off your alarm and grabbing your phone and you're right away getting into your emails, going
yeah,
on social media,
Hmm.
reading the news, and you haven't even gotten out of bed yet, that is now impacting your entire morning, therefore
totally.
your entire day, therefore your bedtime, right? So always give yourself that 30 minutes when you wake up to just not check in. Do what you got to do. That could be a workout.
Okay, but like, what if you have a boyfriend in Ireland and you need to WhatsApp him right away?
But
Well,
you
but that's
don't.
different because he brings you joy. That's not gonna, if
Okay,
he's
so if
adding
it
to your
brings
stress,
you
that's a
joy,
problem.
ladies, you're
Or
okay.
you
Brings
could
you
call
joy.
him on the phone instead of texting him.
No, but here's the thing. On the flip side, I am not opposed to tech. Like I'm really not. I'm
Right.
not
I know you're not. I know
not going to
this.
tell people to keep tech out of their bedroom because there's a lot of tech that can help us sleep better. And if you've
Yes.
had a really stressful day, like just to simplify it, if you've had a really stressful day and watching one or two episodes of your favorite show, we all have
Sure.
our feel good shows, is going to make
Yeah,
you forget your day, watch it at bedtime. Okay. If talking to your boyfriend in the morning is going to elevate your serotonin and help you
Hmm.
get out of bed with a little bounce in your step, do it.
Yep.
You know what I
yeah,
mean? But if
I think
reading
that's
the news
important.
and going on social media and
Yeah.
checking work emails, like that's probably not going to do that.
Or like doom scrolling. So I think your point
Exactly.
is well
there is something
taken
about your
is
brain.
there's
Hmm.
intention in it, right? Like it's you are okay, I'm going to do this, but then I'm going to get up out of bed, I'm going to go for a walk or I'm going to do the thing. So interesting nuance in what you said, Alana, too, is you said when you wake up,
Yeah,
it is real your sleep. I can't say it as well as you, but your sleep schedule or how you wake up. Sorry, that was it. How you wake up is important, not when you wake up. And I
exactly.
think that's what people need to
Yeah.
hear. So back to, again, we're not saying that everyone needs to sleep till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Within reason of outliers of an hour
Yeah,
and a
of
half here or
course.
there,
Yeah.
it's not when. And that is what I think is drilled into us is again, what we talk about the 5 a.m. club and being up. It's how. So it
Yeah.
doesn't matter if it's 8 o'clock, Emery, or 8:30, and you
Mhm.
can do that. So
It's
I think
seven.
that's
It's in the
just
sevens.
okay in the
Seven is fine.
sevens.
That's the time that I typically
No,
wake up
she's just
too.
trying to say because I'm
Because I
pushing her to
think
8.
everybody thinks I sleep in like crazy, and I
I'm
don't
up at
really.
7,
Seven
I
is the
know,
normal wake time.
but go to bed later. So
but I
here's
do.
I have a
Yeah.
question.
Okay.
So on the phone because I
Oh,
use my
sorry.
alarm sometimes
I'm
too,
sorry. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
and so I find you're right. If you pick up and you start to doom scroll or do whatever,
Yeah,
there
that's a
goes a whole
different.
half an hour.
Yeah.
But if I just want to laze around in bed, like sometimes I just don't, I'm not getting up and going for my walk right away. Like I'm like, I got some time. I just want to
Yeah.
lay here for 20 minutes. So I've started, my book is right there.
Yeah.
Sorry,
That's
it's
okay.
Sandra. She's calling me like
Oh
non.
my God, our aunt. I love that. She's not calling me though. Who's the favorite niece today? You are.
You're going to have to send her the link to listen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, I was
Sorry,
going
go
to say,
on.
when I reach for my book when I first wake up, I'm actually way calmer in the morning.
Yeah.
I've
Yes.
actually legitimately, like, I've noticed a difference.
Yeah.
So, and then I'll like read a chapter and then I'm like, okay, now I'm up and or I'm awake. My brain is awake and
Yeah.
I'm up versus you lose time on these apps. Like
Yeah.
it's get
Yeah.
sucked into a
I think
whole
it's an
thing. I don't
important
think that's a good way to
nuance.
start your brain off.
Yeah.
It's an important nuance.
Absolutely.
It's why I've always enjoyed listening to you. Like I always feel like it's reasonable. It's kind of, I think, probably why you align well with, we'll talk about Gina Levy as well, because she's
Yeah.
reasonable in her expectation, Alana. You're reasonable. So I think it's important for people to hear the nuance in everything that you say, not
Mhm.
opposed to tech. You need to be
Yeah.
intentional. It's how you wake up, not when you wake up.
Mhm.
Okay,
What
so
about napping? We've talked about this. I
oh,
told you about,
you have so many questions.
I quoted you, Alana, because I'm a terrible napper, like absolutely terrible napper. I wake up, I feel like I'm wrapped in maple syrup, like I'm totally a mess. I can't nap. I'm just an anti-napper, cannot nap. And unless it's like an absolute emergency. But I referenced your nappuccino, and
Oh
Tanya
yeah.
had not
I
Yeah.
do
heard
it all
that.
the time.
And I was
Yeah.
like, you need to have a nappuccino like Alana talks about. So talk about
Nappuccinos can
that.
work. Not everyone, like I always also get that question, like, should I nap? Should I nap? So I always say if you have a pretty healthy relationship with sleep, you're sleeping pretty well at night. Again, no night is going to be perfect, but you're sleeping overall, your overall sleep health is good. A nap occasionally is not going to hurt you, right? But if you are someone who perhaps has chronic insomnia, perhaps isn't sleeping well at night, think of your drive for sleep. Our drive for sleep throughout the day is like a gas tank. I call it our sleep tank. So when we wake up, regardless of how we slept at night, for the most part, that tank is on empty. So we need to fill that tank
Hmm,
throughout the day so that we're able to fall asleep well at night. So that's through
interesting.
physical movement. That's through waking up, regardless of what time, consistently immersing yourself in that natural light, getting
Yeah.
in that natural light and moving your body are two great ways to do it. So if we take a nap for someone who isn't sleeping well at night, taking that nap is like driving 10 kilometers. You're burning that gas, which you don't want, right?
Ooh,
So those would be the people that I would say try to avoid naps. I know it's hard because those are the people who really need the naps because they're not sleeping great at night, but we want to really have a strong pressure for sleep when we're going to bed. On average, a good nap, about 15 to 20 minutes. NASA actually had a study that showed the perfect nap time is 22 minutes. How they came to that
22
conclusion, I'm
minutes.
not sure, but that is within a
astronauts.
cycle of sleep. That's just before we hit into that deep sleep space. Because sometimes when you take a nap, you feel worse when you wake up from that nap than you did when
You just made me think of something. If I'm a wolf, that's why I can't nap because I have all the
you're
energy in
more
the end of
productive.
the day.
That's
So
right.
I'm like,
That's it.
so you should take a nap. I'm like, take a nap. It's going to take me 3 hours to get asleep. Then I
Yeah.
finally fall asleep. I'm down a well, and then I have to come up. It's
Yeah.
so confusing.
I
What
Yeah.
an
also think
interesting,
it
never
is.
thought of
And
it
I
like
think
that.
it's getting to know your body. Like, I think, again,
Yeah.
as you start to, again, if we focus it back to midlife, I do think that, and I don't know if you ladies feel the same way, but I feel like, and I've always been really in tune with my body, but I feel like I'm even more in
Mhm.
tune with my body now that I
You
don't
say that
now.
every podcast. Tanya's very in tune with her body.
I am. I should get a t-shirt or something, maybe.
Yes, I'm getting you one. She's
But
very
anyways,
in tune with her body. The
ultimately,
rest of us are ignoring it.
okay. She says that she never makes fun of me. Whatever. I do say
That
it a
was
lot.
legit because
And
that
I was
was
legit.
track.
It's
That
so
would
true.
track.
It's true. We do Tanya isms. But I do think that what I've started my new intuitiveness of it is I just have more time, so I think about it, is I can feel when I need a nap. Like I
Yeah.
ride again, this is if you are able to have an afternoon of meetings and you're in control. There's some days where I feel super done at 3, right? And again, if I'm waking up at 7, and I will take, so did you say this to me maybe, or I heard from you? It's either that 20-minute or it has to be an hour and a half.
Yeah,
Like
a
it,
full cycle
right?
of sleep, 90 minutes.
Full
So
cycle,
yeah,
90 minute. So I will literally,
commit to the nap.
I commit to the nap and
Yeah.
I set my alarm for 2 hours. And I swear, and usually Emery, don't worry, it's on the weekend, but no.
I'm just like,
I
how do
will.
you fall asleep at 3 o'clock?
Team, if you can't get me, I'm probably napping. But the idea is, and I swear I've tested this, it always falls within 60 to 90 minutes. No word of a lie. I wake up just naturally. So I give myself 2 hours so I'm not waking up with an alarm. And full proof, it's like close to 90 minutes all the
Yeah.
time. And that must be a sleep cycle. So here's my last question on sleep, though, for my sister is I tend to sleep like that at night too, which is a problem. I'm up every 2 hours to pee.
Are
So,
you
but
up
is that
long
just
or
my
are you fine?
natural? No, no, no. I just naturally get up, awake.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, oh, I have to go to the washroom. I go to the washroom, I go right back to sleep. And I literally either do 4 to 5 hours or then I do 90-minute sleep stints until I wake up quite refreshed at 7
Yeah.
o'clock in the morning.
So, I mean, that's what our ancestors did. You know,
Did they?
it's the
See, look
modern
at me in
world
touch
that
with my
made us
ancestors.
sleep like, not ours personally, but like the
Oh, you mean the human race?
the human
Yeah,
race,
that's
not
what I
the
thought. Yeah,
McGinn
yeah.
Garcia world. Uh,
I knew that.
you know, they would sleep in segments. They would normally have two segments, right? They would go to bed as the sun set, and they would get up for a few hours, you know, whenever in the middle of the night, and then
Okay.
go back to bed and sleep
Okay.
when the sun rose. It's our modern world that put us on that 6 to 8 hour block of time. Now, I'm not saying that that's something that we should adopt because unfortunately we do live in a modern world where we do have to get up at a certain amount at a certain period of time
Yeah, sure,
of
sure.
life and things like that. But again, if you're able to fall asleep relatively easily once you
Yeah.
do wake up, I mean, I would check more on why do you
Hmm.
have to get up so many
I
times throughout
know.
the night to
I'm
pee?
working with my doctor on
I
that.
know you are. Um,
Hormones and all that crap.
yeah, and you know, we get to an age where we do have to limit what we
Yeah.
drink. And I know, did you get your sleep study done? I can't remember.
I didn't. It got canceled. I have to go back.
Oh yeah. Okay. So that, you
I
know,
showed up. But I
yeah,
will. I will.
yeah.
Because
Because
I
that
do
could be a sign
snore.
too, right?
I do snore.
I snore too. Apparently, I've been told in the past week that I'm snoring a lot, but I think it's
Oh.
because I'm stuffy. That's what I'm blaming it on. But so yeah, that's fine. As long as
Okay, so that's fine. I
it's
feel that's
okay,
fine
it's
too.
really fine.
And
I have a
I've,
question when
oh
you
yeah.
reference sleep study. Go ahead. You go, and then
No,
I'll
no,
wait.
my last thing, because I'm going to say this for our listeners, because these are the conversations I have with my friends, is the other thing is if you wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning, do not stress about it.
Yeah,
Meaning, if it, and I think you said that, if it takes half, and sometimes I am on my phone, I know it's bad. Okay, don't do
yeah,
that. But, or read a book or something like, don't force it because you do get tired again. Like, then I do get tired and
yeah.
then I roll over and I fall asleep. So I think this just might be kind of the age and stage that we're in, and this is it. But if you fight it and then you're stressing about it, it's harder to fall asleep. That was just the point I was going to say. I don't know if that's accurate, but it works.
Just don't think about it.
Don't think about it. If it
And do
takes
not
Yeah,
you,
what
think,
you
don't
can
think,
do
don't
is if
think.
you wake up at that time and you're tossing, you're turning, and you're clock watching, is to actually physically get out of bed,
get,
do something like read a book, don't check your
yes,
email, don't in
yes,
another room, then try and fall asleep again,
yeah,
rather than the
yeah,
tossing and the turning and the clock watching, because that just elevates our stress that we're already feeling about not sleeping when,
yes. I think that's a really good point.
yeah.
Okay, Anne-Marie, what were you going to say?
I was wondering if things change as you age, so dreams and activity. So I've always had wild dreams, and
Mhm.
I've, as a kid, used to sleep walk. I don't, haven't slept
Ooh.
walk probably like not as regularly,
Mm-hmm.
like in the last 20 years, but even up till I was probably 30, very often.
Mhm.
And I used until I'd say the last 5 years, I have been whipping on the bed is a mess. Like I'm
Mhm.
just moving all over the place. Since taking the magnesium, I'm just in one spot. It's shocking. Like I can like you can just see exactly where I slept. I still have quite wild dreams, but not as frequently that I recall. So I don't know. What are your thoughts? Does that change over time as you get older? Maybe I'm just, I don't
Yeah,
know.
because the stages of sleep that we get as we get older changes. So when you're in REM sleep, that is your dream state, right? So that's when you're going to dream the most. I love dreaming. This is like a
Me
little weird
too.
thing about me. Like sometimes I go to sleep at night and be like, have a fun, adventurous dream tonight. Like, because I love it. It just keeps me entertained. I always
Oh,
need to be entertained. And I
Do
can
you
promise
remember the dreams in the morning?
For the most part, I get
Oh, you
bummed if I
do?
don't. Like, because I know I've dreamt, but I don't remember them. I don't know.
Huh.
Because I like reading. So I like another otherworldly things, you know?
Yeah.
I like dreaming, unless it's like a
Hmm.
bad dream, obviously. There's nothing wrong with dreaming. But as we get older, we might get more restless sleep. We might, our body temperature increases and all of those things because so that can affect our sleep. And that's where things like taking magnesium, I'm not a doctor, so I don't diagnose. I'm not a naturopath, so always talk to your doctor and your naturopath if you're looking to include things into your daily supplements. But I'm a big believer in magnesium because we are a deficient society in
Hmm.
Yeah.
magnesium and it can help with sleep. But again, changing your sleep environment. So if you're tossing and turning, your bed sheets are all over, is it because you're too hot? Do you need to change what you're sleeping in or what you're sleeping on? Like all of those things factor in.
Yeah, for
See,
sure. For
mine is the
sure.
opposite though. It's like nice and calm. Where am I like as a child up until maybe 5 years ago? Like it's bananas.
Yeah.
But I'm
Interesting.
not really jumping out of bed. Like I used to get out of like,
Because
yeah,
we don't
no.
have to. I
Oh,
do
another.
enjoy a good
No, I mean
lion.
I would jump out of bed in the middle of the night, Tanya, like walking,
Oh,
talking,
Oh,
looking
that
for
scares
yeah.
things
me.
So
like,
sleepwalking is um sleepwalking is basically things like sleepwalking. I work with a lot of parents who go through like night terrors and things like
yeah.
that. That is where your sleep and wake cycle is fighting against one another, right? And sleepwalking falls into that category.
Oh,
So typically when things like that are going on, it's working on your sleep hygiene. So do I need to maybe go to bed a bit earlier, right? Like that's where if that's coming back and if you're doing that again, that's when you need to take an overall look at your sleep health.
hmm. So
That's
that's
interesting.
interesting. My dad
Yeah,
always did, my three kids, we all talk to, like you can
Yeah.
hear. It's anyway, that's another segment
that's an
for,
interesting.
but and we
So
all
talk.
are talking in different rooms and you can hear us. If we're in one hotel room does not work well
Yeah.
I bet it
Yeah.
because
doesn't.
people are talking all through the night.
I love this. That's hilarious. So talk to us. So you've moved. So again, we've talked about sleep. We've talked a little bit about kind of stress management and how that. So you're going in, you're speaking with adults now, you're doing corporate functions as well to
Yeah.
help people within that capacity. So in the stress management, obviously, it's clearly the management of stress will affect your sleep. So there needs to
Yeah.
be a kind of a control within or management within that. Are there any kind of key tidbits that
Good question. Good
you have
question.
questions or you've talked to midlife people about when it comes to stress
Yeah.
management?
So when we talk about stress management is learning different tools, learning different
Yeah.
coping skills, right? So think of your bucket as like a stress bucket and it has a
Hmm.
spout. So, and you're putting water into that spout. The water is the stress. The spout are the tools that you're going to use to release that stress, right? As we get older, especially with midlife women, what tends to happen is the spouts get smaller and the water flows in a lot more because we go through different life transitions, right? Menopause definitely is going to affect your health. I'm not
Sure.
a hormone expert, so I tend to not speak on that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Things like life transitions, right? Changing careers, kids moving out, relationship changes, all of those things are going to increase
Yeah.
the stress bucket. So we need to increase that spout. So learning things like I call it a personal pause. So finding time throughout the day to work through what you need to work through because we tend to kind of push everything down and then at night the distractions are gone and then
Mm,
that's when and problems are still going to flood your brain in the middle of the night. That's
yeah.
normal, but if you take time throughout the day to work on it, you can start training your brain to understand that, bedtime or 3 o'clock in the morning, now is not the time to work on this. I worked on it during the day. I will work on it at night.
Interesting.
Things like incorporating joy. Incorporating joy isn't like finding a new hobby or starting painting, but it could be
Could
anything.
be.
It could be, but sometimes we only think of that. When we find joy, we're like, oh, I got to think of a new hobby. But it could just be increasing your connection throughout the day, savoring a moment, right? Rather than just as a business owner. I mean,
Gratitude.
I am so guilty of this always. I never celebrate my wins. I just move on to the next thing.
Yes.
Like sit in that
Yes.
moment of celebration. It could be movement, it could be life experiences, it could be creativity. Like focus on it's me time, right?
Yeah.
Finding time throughout the day to give yourself some me time is super
Hmm.
important.
Yeah.
Maybe it just that me time needs to be rebranded as stress relief. Like if
Exactly.
that
That's
like
what we have.
prescribe the me time as stress relief.
That's how we have to kind of look at it, right?
Actually, that's a really good
Happiness
point.
and joy are two different things. Happiness is an emotion that we feel. It's like that butterfly. It lands on you
Yeah.
and it flutters away. Joy is something that we have to work on. Joy is a choice. It's something we have to
Hmm.
work on to incorporate into our lives. And we can, no, that's Sophie. Sorry, guys. Uh, I really should just
Yeah.
put on my focus, which I'm doing right now. Sorry. Joy is something that uh, we is a choice. It's something that can run side by side with feeling sad or mad. We can still feel joyful in that moment, and that joy makes us more resilient for burnout and for stress. So I don't want to just like throw the word like be joyful and feel joy, but focusing on times throughout the day where you feel that joy and that happiness is important for us overall.
I love that. So you just reframed something for me because I always say happiness is a choice. And we've had this conversation, right, Anne-Marie, where that annoys her because she's like, what do you mean? Like, I'm happy. Like, like it felt like it can come across as like, just be happy, which is
Yeah.
not my point. But
I find it because I find that like a passive aggressive way of just like
what's
that's a
wrong with
choice.
you?
But
Can't
I
you
That's
just
think
be
why
it's
I
not
happy?
hate
always a
saying,
choice for everybody.
yeah,
But
and that's why I hate saying like
finding
Joy.
joy
you're
is a
joyful
choice.
because the
I
same
like
thing.
that. How you
Yeah,
said joy can happen,
I
again,
like
in
that.
you're sad or angry or whatever, but also on the happiness on the other side. That's like the net result, the
Yeah,
feeling. I'm gonna start saying you can choose joy because that
yeah,
is more of the intentional and it's the gratitude idea, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
Of being grateful. But you're right. It could just be sipping your coffee at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and
totally.
taking 10 minutes to like look outside the window type thing.
Yeah,
That's like a joyful
As long as
experience.
that 2 o'clock in the afternoon coffee does not impact your sleep.
that's
Yes.
right.
I can sleep, drink coffee whenever, and I
I know
sleep.
most people, but
I
at this
know.
time of life, many people it
Cannot
impacts
do
their
that.
sleep,
That's right.
and then
So
their
I love
shoes
that with
off.
the stress management. I think that's just a great kind of the other key takeaway is and then again my brain is gonna totally lose it. But oh shoot. It's gonna come back to me. But oh yes, me time, reframing that,
Yeah,
right? Because it becomes selfish as women, we feel
yeah,
like taking that time. But if we reframe it as stress management,
yeah,
as like visually I'm filling that bucket, it's overflowing unless I increase the size of the spout.
yeah.
Like no, it gives us more reason, even though we should be able to do whatever that we want, but the reality is if you reframe it as a means to manage stress versus just me time yourself, I love that. I think that's a
Versus
good
selfish
takeaway.
time. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
selfish time. I
Yeah,
love that. I love
And
that.
you'll sleep better.
yeah,
So if you deal
Yeah.
with it, then you sleep better.
Yeah.
yeah,
So just being conscious of time, because I know we only had you to a certain time. The last thing I think we mentioned that as we kind of look forward into our topics, we'll likely want you to come back at some point, specifically talk about divorce. I know you've mentioned it a few times because Alana and I, we like to be twins and do things at the same time. So much to our parents' dismay, we decided to leave our husbands at the same time.
Sorry, mom
But
and
at
dad.
least they didn't have to do it, again. They could do it. Sorry, mom and
Exactly.
dad, but
We like
guess
to just
what?
rip the band-aid in our family.
Yeah. Guess what? Me too. Um,
But both
but
of you've done a really good job of managing the stress of that very stressful
yes.
Yeah,
circumstance. You
yeah,
like to use your teapot metaphor, right? Like you
yeah,
found ways to
Mhm.
manage that stress and
Still
relieve it a bit.
function and take it all
Well,
through,
you're
but
both very highly functioning women too.
yeah.
I think you're
we
very
we are.
strong, high functioning women. Not to
Thank you.
dismiss the massive overhaul and change and transition you've had to go through, but
100%.
you
But
put your game face on, that's for sure.
for
Yeah.
You
sure.
guys are very good at that.
So we want to certainly have you back to dig into that a little bit. But before we end, I know because you've just been talking about it a little bit more openly. So just
Yeah.
for people who are listening, so you've now kind of expanded, and I don't know if it's just now, but now
Yeah.
really launched, maybe a softer launch, and this is a harder launch into certification around helping women manage divorce. Maybe just talk a little bit about that before
Mhm.
we kind of close this off, because I think it
Yeah.
all obviously that would affect your sleep and stress as well. So it makes sense.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, and it did mine, right?
Yeah.
So for the most part, I always had a healthy relationship with sleep until I went through divorce. And then obviously, as you go through something, you tend to find more people in the same kind of situation. And sleep definitely affects sleep. Your sleep is definitely affected when you're going through
Mhm.
such a stressful process like divorce. So the programs that I built, I like to look at sleep as like you're using sleep as a legal tool, right? Because you're not going to make great decisions. Your mood, your temperament, your
Hmm.
decision making, your stress levels, all of those things is affected when you're not getting great sleep. So
Mm.
a lot of people, obviously, myself included, kind of put their own wellness and health on the side while you're going through a stressful situation like that, because your focus is only on surviving the day and getting to that next step that you have to do and all of those things. So my hope with these programs is that it allows women to put a focus on their health, both on the legal side and wellness side. And what I mean by legal side is I'm not a divorce lawyer. I'm not going to give you legal advice,
Hmm.
but I am going to help you manage your stress while you're preparing for court, while you're getting your documents ready, while you're doing all of these things that is very stressful, while you're going through financials maybe for the first time in your life.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that's so important. So my goal with these programs is to help women maximize their sleep and minimize their stress while going through that process. So that when you get to the other side of divorce, as you know, Tanya,
Hmm.
you will get
It
to the
does
other
happen.
side. You're prepared to live the life that you are meant to live.
Love that.
So
Oh,
what does that coaching look like, Alana? Is it one-on-one or is it a program that they do
It's
on their own?
one-on-one. So there's a few ways you can work with me. One is one-on-one. So all the information can be found at alanamcginn.com.
Okay.
good.
The programs are through one-on-one. They are through a online program that you can do it yourself. I have many programs in development, and I actually have my own GPT in development too that will help with those 3 a.m.
Mm,
wakings.
Mm,
If you're going through divorce and your mind is just flooded with everything. So stay
love
tuned
that.
on that. That's launching in the
Okay.
next couple of weeks.
congratulations. That's a great
Yes.
way to make lemonade out of lemons. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
That's
Yeah.
for sure. I love it.
Good
Yeah.
job.
Alana, thank you so much. It was so fun. It was good just to chat with you in this capacity.
I
And then
know.
the regular
Thanks for
was good.
having me, ladies.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
everyone, you got to, yes, she is my sister. Yes, she's a longtime friend of Anne Marie and myself. And you can find her at Alana McGinn. So that's where that's the website, alanamcginn.com, correct?
AlanaMcGinn.com. You can
Okay.
find me on Instagram at Alana.McGinn.
Okay.
TikTok, same thing, at Alana.McGinn, but I'm not on TikTok that often. More
No,
still
that's a whole
Instagram.
other thing. Cool. Awesome, ladies.
Sounds good.
Thanks
Sleep
for
well.
having me.
Sleep well. Okay.